Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Continental Confidential Live, and this is number 19. And today we have Nakia and Charlie Cotton.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
We're doing good. We're out here in Toronto in quarantine, so
Yes, because your mom's working on a show. Wonderful. And I see you've still got your Christmas tree up behind you.
it was here when we got here, man.
So you guys have written a song.
Mhm.
And it is released now into the ether, and so people can get that now if they want to.
Yes.
And so tell me a little bit about the song. Charlie, why don't you start and give me a little bit of information on it?
Okay, so where it all started was me. I was in this kind of, I don't know, like suit kind of thing, and I was wearing my Harry Potter glasses, and we were in our old truck named Buttercup. I don't remember where we were headed. I think we were coming back home. And my mom was feeling a bit, off track. So, and I never like seeing people be sad or seeing people crying.
Mhm.
So I always like to cheer people up and give them, and I pat on the back. So, I said it's never too late to start over and try again for anyone. It's never too late to for things to get better for anyone. So and then I think it was a couple weeks and then my mom posted that.
I saw it when she posted it.
Yeah. Yeah, she posted it on Instagram, and then Nakia, he saw the story, and I think he liked it so much that he decided to make a song out of it. So, and then a couple months later, I think during when the pandemic started, he said, "This is when oh yeah, I started this song." And then we worked it all out. I remember me working out the bridge while me and my mom were doing dishes. We were talking to Nakia, and then we did it on. I think it was on this thing where everybody from home while they're quarantining, everybody goes on TV and they do a song that they've been working on. And Nakia, I've been watching on the iPad, and I saw Nakia, and I was so excited. There was a video of it, and then it became a song, and then now here it is. And I'm just really grateful for Nakia to start this song. So thanks, Nakia.
Well, you started it, buddy. You wrote the chorus when you told your mom that. You didn't even realize that you were writing a song at the time. But that is the exact way that it happened. The show that he's talking about, the Charlie that you're talking about there, is was the Saxon Strong, the first one they did was at the Saxon Pub, and they had over 3,000 viewers, and everybody was watching, and that's where I first performed the song.
And so now, Charlie, have you written anything before?
No. I kind of just go in and out. I just pick up my tiny looped guitar or the piano, and I just play and kind of make up my own song as I'm going. But after all that, no, I haven't made a song. But my mom has. You probably already know that.
Right. You come from a long history of songwriters. Your grandfather is one of my favorite songwriters.
Yeah, but I haven't made any songs before this song. No. So
Do you think that you will now?
yes, I'm actually already starting a band with a bunch of school friends.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
That's
And
totally awesome.
the other thing, Diane, was that because Charlie is now a songwriter on a song that's been released,
Uh-huh.
we had to make sure that we got him hooked up with a PRO. So Savannah worked with Mitch Ballard from BMI,
Uh-huh.
whose office is right across the street from y'all.
Right.
And he is now an 8-year-old BMI writer.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Charlie. That's big.
Thank you.
It really is. That's awesome.
That's really dreaming. It came true thanks to Nakia. So
Oh.
So, Nakia, now, what kind of feedback have you been getting on the song?
Everybody that hears the song immediately tells me, that it was good medicine, or that it was exactly what they needed to hear today, or
Right.
this is a perfect song for our times.
Yes.
And that is that spark, that I had when I read that quote from Charlie. That is exactly what I thought. I immediately thought, wow, it's never too late. And Diane, one of the first things that I thought about was, the importance of making amends, and the importance of always being honest and forthright, and how it's never too late to start over. Things that I learned, from my sponsor, all of those things really rang true in that moment. And boy, it was 4 a.m. I picked up the phone and immediately started singing the song into my phone.
Wow. See, that's very inspiring. And I know that for me, it's a real feel good song, but it also has such a deeper context to it, that it's not just fluff. It's the real deal.
Yeah, I really appreciate you saying that. I think, to me, I feel like what I think the reason behind that is this beautiful bond between Charlie and Savannah.
Right.
And so often, especially right now, it's, when we see these images in the press of these young people who are, marching on the Capitol, and all those things that happened last week, they learn that from somewhere, and it's almost always from their parents, or worse, or maybe not worse, but or from being ignored by their parents, right? And not finding a place at home.
Right.
And what Charlie and Savannah have is the exact opposite of that. It is a open, honest, loving relationship that Charlie knows he can go to her and say these things without fear of being made fun of or not being heard.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows that Savannah is going to listen to him and really try to understand him. And so that, to me, is why the chorus rings so true. And so that simplicity. But the bridge that Charlie wrote, when I said, is there anything else that you want to add? The very first things out of his mouth were, I just think we should tell everybody that it's really important that we all take care of each other right now. And in my spirituality work and my self-work that I've done over the years, my higher power, what I really think about when I think about my higher power, is always really going to be that 4, that 5, that 6-year-old version of myself. Because, in the Bible, it says we're made in God's image. And so I always think about, well, if that's the case, then I look like God, and God made me this way on purpose. And so I always think about that younger version of myself who wasn't jaded yet, who hadn't been completely mistreated or abused, who had love and wanting nothing else for the world but love. I didn't know the difference between a Black person and a white person. I didn't even know my dad wasn't Black. I thought my dad was Black growing up. He had to explain to me we were part Mexican. I didn't get that, right? So I think more than ever, we need to be really engaging our youth, especially after they've been locked up and having to learn from home and not been around other kids for a year like this. It's more important than ever that we really talk to our children and then listen to them and help guide them towards the light, help guide them towards the things that are positive and beautiful and loving. And I think that that's what the spirit of the song is all about.
I agree. I think that that's awesome that there is such a bond between Charlie, you and your mom, Savannah. And I know that over the last few years, I have seen um, many times when Savannah may not be feeling as positive about things as maybe she could be. And Charlie, you're always right there to be her number one cheerleader.
Yeah. 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 So, as me being young when she was an amputee, when I was about 4, when she got hit, from that day on, it's always been a bit of a struggle. Like we used to always be late for school,
Uh-huh.
and we always used to we want to do so many things, but we can't do it because she has to get her leg on,
Right.
um, or um, or there's something wrong, like she doesn't have any hand sanitizer. Um, but it's been pretty much a struggle these last few years. That she's been an amputee. Um, but there's but there's always me right beside her to help her and guide her to a way where everything is possible, and where we where there's where we can it's where it's never too late to start over and try again. Like when she said we didn't go to the library, we have to, and that was the only time. But it's never too late to do that and try it. It's never too late to start over and try again. And there's just, you could do that in lots of things. And there's never, it's, I mean, you can't, I mean, sometimes it's a struggle or sometimes it's not. Like you can't, like we can't go to the library. We were gonna go to the library after she got hit, and we never got to do that again. But after that, a couple of years later, we got to go to the library like 5 times.
Well, just so you know, I totally relate to what you're saying because my mother was an amputee.
Oh,
She had cancer when she was pregnant with me, and they amputated her leg, leaving only 4 inches of femur. So my mother's stump was way shorter than your mom's is, and she had to relearn how to walk just like your mom did. And but of course, this was in 1951, and at that time, they didn't have artificial limbs that were anything like what your mom has now. My mom's were the old fashioned kind where it was a suction bucket and they were uncomfortable and they were hot. And, it was a struggle. And I know exactly what you're talking about because I've been there. I've been through it with a mom that was limited in some ways, but in other ways, she far exceeded anybody's expectations of what an amputee should be able to do.
awesome.
Yeah.
I did not know that, Diane. Thank you for sharing that. It's very sweet.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I had talked to Savannah about it way back when all of this first happened with the accident. And for those of you that don't know, Charlie's mom is Savannah Welch, the daughter of Kevin Welch and sister of Dustin Welch. They're all renowned musicians. Savannah is in the Trishas. And a few years ago, they were at a farmer's market down in Wimberley, and Savannah was run over, basically, and she ended up losing her leg. And one of the most moving pictures I've ever seen was of Savannah with her new limb, learning to walk, and Charlie on the floor as she's walking. And
I remember that.
such an awesome photo.
Yeah.
Such a great moment to have captured. Yeah. And you're right. You've been right there by your side through the whole thing.
I really like that photo.
It's a good one.
That's a good picture, Charlie.
Yep.
It's a really good picture. Dianne, I don't know if you noticed or not, but I have the cover of the single from iTunes behind me right here. The art was done by my friend Ben Wu, and we haven't really been talking about this in the press yet, but since this is the confidential, I'm going to tell you that we have a lyric video that we're finishing up and getting ready to launch that is going to have all these characters in it. It's an animated lyric video.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah. So we're Heather Widener-Reed, who's been doing PR for this single, is working on getting that released out while we're finishing things up on our side. It should be ready to go any day. So we'll hopefully have an announcement on that soon as well. And Charlie and I, as you know, basically decided that the sales from our Bandcamp, from my Bandcamp page of the song, we're going to donate that back to the Sims Foundation. And we've been trying to work on a virtual event with some other songwriters and maybe some other kids to do a fundraiser for Sims.
Wonderful.
Based on the song and the themes in the song of kindness and empathy.
That's great. And while we're on the subject, if people want to make any kind of donations or tips for today, where would you guys like the money to go? Would you like to have that go to Sims, or can we put up your personal tip jars? Or
I'm okay with Sims. That's fine with me.
Charlie, what do you think?
I think Sims. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And if anybody's watching this and you know Kelly Clarkson, we're trying to get on the Kelly Clarkson show. Tell them, somebody tell Kelly Clarkson about this story and that we need to come on there and tell them about this song, because the world needs to hear this song. It's so beautiful, and it was produced by Matt Permenter. We have one version that's out now that was mixed by Matt and mastered by Nick Landis, and then I have a whole nother version that was mixed by Grammy Award-winning Chris Shaw, who does all of Dylan's stuff. And we're going to put that out later as a special treat for my Patreon subscribers when we launch that page later this year.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you guys got lots of stuff going on. And you've been kind of doing a lot of interviews, and with the release, of course, of the single. And so, Charlie, how's it feel to be doing all of these interviews with people?
Well, I never really done an interview, so it's new and it's really fun. So I'm having a great time. Thanks for asking.
You're really good at it. You're a natural.
It should be a great time.
Yeah.
And Nakia, so I've heard that you are giving up a lot of your more community outreach to focus on your own career again, which I think is wonderful.
Yeah, about 2 years ago, I started a nonprofit called Austin, Texas Musicians. It really kind of came from the private Facebook group that I founded about 11 years ago called Austin, Texas Musicians. And we have been focused on advocacy for musicians and making sure that we have a seat at the table and that people are actually listening to us and taking us seriously. And we've been really busy for the last 2 years. And at the beginning of 2020, I had indicated to the rest of our board that I would, like to be out of town more often, whether that be touring or I was taking some acting classes in New York with some very awesome teachers, and I really wanted to get back into acting. And also, I've been scoring TV web series and doing sound design. And so I really wanted to focus on some of those things. And then the pandemic happened, and we got, again, super slammed with trying to get, information to musicians about grants or the Texas Workforce Commission, getting information even out about venue stuff, and then helping to make sure, like, for instance, when Kathy Tovo, took the recommendation from the Music Commission to create an Austin Musician Disaster Relief Fund, we were excited, but then she tried to take it from the Live Music Fund, which is not meant for that, and we fought back and got it taken from a different pot, which was great. We helped to kind of push for what became Saves, which was a historic thing that's never happened in the city of Austin. They gave $10 million to music venues for economic relief. All of those things took a lot of time. There was a lot of personal attacks and things that were really difficult for me I didn't understand, where people didn't want help, or they thought they could do it differently. But that's why I started Austin, Texas Musicians, was because so many people love to complain online. But what really is true is that if people organize and get together and start showing up and speaking up, you can actually get things done instead of complaining on Facebook. So after about 2 years of that, I think that I've earned a break. I've had several things on the shelf that I've got a song that I wrote and then had produced by Jeff Plankenhorn that's not seen the light of day. I've got a full-length Broadway musical that I've written and recorded over the summer. I've got a whole, basically a whole album of 80s synth pop that I want to do as a completely different person. I'm not even going to put it out as Nakia. So many things, right, to do. And so I decided to let the board know again, hey, beginning of 2021, barring anything crazy happening, I'm going to take a little bit step back. I'm going to stay on as a board member and stay on as the president and help to guide the organization in that fashion. But I'm not going to be able to keep doing, these weekly and sometimes daily meetings with city leaders or other organizations in town. And I'm certainly not going to want to, sign up to speak at council every week or all of those other things. I really do want to take this time to get back to what really got me here in the first place, which is singing.
Yep.
And the beauty of all of this for me, full circle, is that I had been thinking about this last year, started this song, and now at the beginning of 2021, I'm telling myself it's never too late. I can still do this. I can still start over, and so that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm doing. I'm already doing it.
Brilliant. And so now I do want to ask you, Nakia, there are a few questions that I usually ask during these interviews. And the first one is, tell me about your first gig.
My first gig?
Yep.
Is it my first gig or my first paying gig?
Whichever way you want to go with it.
Okay, let's go with my first. Let's go with my first gig. So my real first quote unquote gig, I guess, would be I was living in Montgomery, Alabama. I was working as a store manager for American Eagle at a mall there. But I was also working, or not working, but I had friends who worked at the local pub down the street where I would go and have a beverage now and then, and they also had karaoke. And I got to know some of the people that hosted the karaoke. And then I said, hey, I've got this piano at my house. I've got, my buddy's got a truck. Could I just bring my piano here and leave it? Because I'm not going to take it backward and forward. And, kind of like Red Young, right? Let me leave my piano here. and I'll come play it for you once a week. And they said, sure. And so that to me, that was my real kind of first gig, was playing cover songs and a few originals, just me and the piano, no microphone, at a little pub in Montgomery, Alabama, called the Fox and Hound.
And how old were you then?
I would have been 23, 24, or 25. That would have been 1999. So I wasn't quite 25. I was probably 24.
And
Yeah.
now here's Charlie with his first band already started. So he's got a leg up on you.
He really does. He really does. I did start my first band before that, but the funny thing is that we never really had, we just rehearsed a lot. We had one gig, and so I don't really consider that my first gig because it was the band gig, but my first solo gig, was that. Yeah.
And who were your influences?
Well, at that time I was really heavily influenced. I was listening to a lot of Elton and Rufus Wainwright and Tori Amos. And I was playing mostly piano. And so I was like really sliding into this like male Tori Amos slot. So all of my songs were very depressing, and very, wordy, and didn't have traditional structures and things. Then Fiona Apple hit, and I got really into Fiona Apple for a while. But, I grew up on Kiss and George Jones and Prince and Boy George. Those were the people that really like inspired me as a kid. Duran Duran. It wasn't until I was old enough to realize some of the records that I had been listening to that my parents and my aunt had kind of left around for me. Now when I think back at it, I was listening to Sam and Dave when I was a child. I didn't realize that. When I would hear my dad singing along going, well, you didn't have to do what you do, but I didn't realize that was a soul song. At the time, I thought it was just a ZZ Top song, right? Because they covered it. So I didn't understand that I had been listening to Freddie Fender. I just knew the song Wasted Days and Wasted Nights. And for years, it wasn't until I moved to Austin, even, I think, I didn't understand. At the beginning of the song on the original album, he dedicates it to Doug Sahm. And I didn't understand who Doug Sahm was until I got here. So it wasn't until I was older that I really understood that I had been influenced by soul, influenced by the blues, and didn't even realize it. And then it wasn't until I met Mac McNabb, and Mac really explained to me, well, if you were listening to Led Zeppelin and you were listening to the Stones, you were also being influenced by all of these things too, because they were being influenced by them as well. So that he kind of taught me how to go back,
And Charlie, who are your favorite musicians to listen to?
Okay. I know the bands. I don't know their names.
Okay.
I like to listen to this band called Fat Rat. He's a DJ. I don't know if you've heard of him. And Imagine Dragons.
I like Imagine Dragons myself.
I remember me being at a F1 race with my friend Julius one night. We got to see Imagine Dragons, and now I'm like, yes. And I normally like Pink. Pink is my favorite. She's really good.
She's great.
And then 2 days later, at that same race, we got to see Pink as well. So it was a paradise. So
cool.
Yeah.
Well, those are some good ones to choose from for sure.
Charlie, I know people that play in Pink's band.
You do?
Yeah. In fact, the guitar player and I think the drummer are the guitar player and the drummer for the band on The Voice. So they also, I worked with them when I was on The Voice.
Okay. So one of my favorite songs is the guitar player's mostly in it. So
Justin?
I really liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Justin's a great guitar player. When we're done today, I'll send your mom a picture of me and Justin together.
And the drummer is great. Love the drummer. All right. But yeah, those are my favorite bands. I have more, but I just can't remember them right now.
Good.
So
Well, those were good choices.
I have a lot.
Those are great choices, yeah.
And so now, Nikki, are you going to start doing your own live streams?
Yeah. So that's, I tried a couple during the beginning of the pandemic, and I was just so exhausted. I never knew that talking on the phone or even listening to meetings could be so exhausting. But one day during the pandemic, Robert actually came into the office and knocked on the door, and he goes, "Hey, are you gonna come out and eat dinner?" And I was like, "Yeah, when it's dinner time." He's like, "It's 9 o'clock. You've been in here since 9 this morning." I'm like, "Oh my gosh," because we were just so crazy busy. But I do have plans to start doing not just a regular music stream, but I have been streaming on Monday nights with my friends in New York. I host a show with them called the Sidekick Power Hour, where we rewatch episodes of shows that we create, or we bring on other people and we watch them and we kind of comment on it and stuff. But I'm also going to start doing live streams of when I'm composing for film and TV. I'm gonna, if it's cool with whoever project that I'm working on, then I'm going to actually do a live stream where part of the stream will be my screen, and then I'll be in the corner, but it'll be me either live composing music to film or doing sound design, making footsteps or that sort of stuff. So I'm also going to do some of that streaming as well, because I think that in the day and age that we're living in, right, it's all about how often, if you're consistent, and it's almost not even whether or not it's good so much as you've got to at least do it every time at the same time. And so I'm going to really put myself on a schedule. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be launching a Patreon. So some of these things will be Patreon exclusive. Like fans who pay this level can actually see these live streams like this, but fans who don't, they have to wait until it comes out like this, where you could have a Continental Confidential club where people watch this live and comment on it who are subscribers to it, and then it goes live later.
Right.
Yeah.
I actually am aiming for a Patreon this year.
Oh, good.
That is, and I haven't decided on the title of it because it's either on or it's off. But the premise is going to be I will have musicians come on, and it may only be a half an hour. It may not even be a half an hour, because we're going to have all songwriters, and it will be people telling us the story behind how they wrote a particular song.
Oh, that's cool. I love that.
And so that will be the one that I do as a Patreon. And
I'll be subscribing to that.
I haven't set it up yet, but I do intend to hit up every musician that's done the show.
Well, listen, we don't have anything else to do. Those of us who are adhering to the guidelines don't have anything else to do, but so we're ready.
Yeah, so far everybody that I've mentioned it to has been pretty enthusiastic about it, because in part of the reason for the Continental Confidential Live is because a lot of the musicians that had residencies at the Continental Club or the Gallery or Sea Boys Heart and Soul were bands.
Yeah.
And not necessarily things that they can do as a live stream.
Right.
And we don't want anybody to forget about them.
Right.
Because when we open back up, everybody's being offered back their same
level. Good. Good.
But nothing changes for us. It's just kind of a break.
Yeah.
And so, we want to keep everybody kind of in the public eye. And so that's part of the reason why this is a talk show as opposed to a music performance.
I like that. But it's also a little bit of an extension of what for years we've all been getting via email.
Right.
Yes.
Right. It is.
And so it's you can dish a little bit about shows once you have them again.
Exactly.
And maybe you can even start to incorporate like a quick interview before somebody goes on stage or something like 5 minutes backstage with
right.
Dale.
Well, and I have actually talked about doing that as well. And I already do the live streams when
Yeah.
we have shows. And so there was talk at one point, Bob Ray, who is one of our employees and who's also a filmmaker, we talked about setting him up with a camera downstairs in the office at the Continental Club. Because he often works back there.
Sure.
And when we have big names playing, and he said, you can't believe the conversations that he
I bet.
has with people. Well, they're waiting.
I've been in some of those conversations.
And so that's one of the things we've talked about is we want to set up a camera for him down in the office so that he can catch some of these,
That reminds me of something I read on Facebook this week. Somebody was talking about it was Alejandro's birthday.
Uh-huh.
And then somebody was posted a photo of something that has to do with women's clothes and a man wearing a woman's piece of clothing or something. And they were kind of making fun of him a little bit. And it reminded me of when we were doing the Street Songs of Love residency.
Uh-huh.
Al had a room at the Austin Motel.
Right.
And so we would rehearse and warm up over there. Then he and Dave would come over and they would start, and then the band would join. And so we were over there after the show one night, and we were watching. No, it was before the show, and he had something on the TV. He turned it off, and he got up and he started to pick up a new pair of jeans, and I could clearly see that they were women's jeans, and he put them on, and I was like, I didn't realize that you wore women's jeans. He said, dude, all the best clothes are made for women. He was like, go look at any rock star from the 70s. They're all wearing women's clothes because all the cool clothes. And it's like, oh man, it's so true. Women and kids.
Uh-huh.
Women and kids get the coolest clothes. Look at this guy. The other day, he had on a velour sweater like this. So I had to go get one just to keep up with an 8-year-old.
That was
Charlie.
So that's your confidential thing. I'm going to get myself in trouble by revealing Alejandro's secret, but there you go.
Well, kids, we're almost ready to wrap it up. And so I want to say again that Nakia and Charlie have recommended that if you would like to leave tips or donations, that they go to Sims Foundation. And I guess I should probably put it, well, I guess since there's nobody here in the chat, it doesn't.
Nobody's here in the chat.
When
It's
I
fine.
This, I'll make sure that the link is posted.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
For the Continental Club, the gallery, and Sea Boys employees, we have a tip jar at www.continentalclub.com/closed. That's the page where you can find out the most information about what's going on with us. And as of 7:00 tonight, we will have a new round of special t-shirts available. And we've added Charlie Sexton, and we've added, oh gosh, so many people are in on this. And now we're doing the second round of it, which is pretty awesome to have so many people willing to.
I don't think I've seen this. What's going on with the show?
Well, what it is all these different bands and musicians that have played at the club or the gallery or Sea Boys over the years. They have submitted either leftover stock or they have given us a design for t-shirts that our t-shirt shop, Foundry International, creates the t-shirt, and then we sell them.
Oh,
And
that's
the musician gets a
cool.
cut, the club gets a cut. It's it's pretty awesome the way it works out. So the new t-shirts are Ryan Bingham, Reckless Kelly, Charlie Sexton, Jamie Harris, Little Captain Travis, Twang Twang
Oh,
Shaka Boom, Betty Sue, Hillary York, Tijuana Trainwreck Horns, and Kelly McQuee.
oh,
You know
cool.
Kelly, Charlie?
Yeah, sure. And I also know Charlie Sexton.
Yes,
Yes.
indeed you do. And coming soon will be Alejandro Escobedo and Skeleton Cat.
Oh, cool.
And then
Very
we're
cool.
bringing back Towns Van Zant, Glass Eye, The Gourds, Shiny Ribs, James McMurtry, John D. Graham, Dale Watson, The Greyhounds, Western Youth, and I think Sean Somm as well.
Wow.
So
Well, I don't see on your site where I see the shop, but I
that's
don't see
well,
the special edition shirt.
they're not going to be available until 7 p.m.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
At 7 p.m. it goes live, and then you can order after 7 p.m. So
Gotcha.
by the time I get all of this uploaded,
Perfect.
the site will be ready to do that. And that's at continentalclub.com/Austin-shop.
Awesome.
And so, we still got more that are coming too. We'll do another round that I know that Jagar Erickson said that he's finding something for us of Rockies.
Wow.
Because
Very
Rocky
cool.
actually used to play at the club. And so he thinks that he may even be able to donate some posters that were Rocky at the Continental Club.
Oh, cool. That'd be
So
great.
we're looking forward to it. It's been really great.
I
Yeah.
love that. You just reminded me that when the Blues Grifters were playing our residency at Seaboys,
Uh-huh.
that's when I had our logo designed. And it was
Uh-huh.
designed by a local designer who's in a band or several bands. His name is Evan Bosgarth.
Yeah.
And he runs like Heartburn, the Talking Heads cover band, and
Uh-huh.
and then he has another band called can't think of it, but it starts with a G. Maybe it's Graveltooth.
Graveltooth. Yep.
Yeah. And him and his brother both are really great graphic designers too.
Uh-huh.
And I had this song that I had tried to get the Blues Grifters to start playing, but some of them didn't go for it. But it was called SoCo Swag. And so I had Evan create logos for South Congress for SoCo Swag for this stuff. I have all of those. I've never done anything with them. I should just send them to you.
Absolutely. We would love that.
It's such a cool design.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool that, it's like the Gourds. Believe it or not, as popular as they were, the Gourds never had merch. They never had a t-shirt.
Wow.
So they created a t-shirt design for us.
Oh, you know who you should get one from? You should get the Small Stars. Miles still has those designs.
Yes.
And they're out of print.
Oh my God, yes.
It's Miles on the front with a cigarette and it says the Small Stars.
Yep.
I love that shirt.
I remember it well.
I'll listen, while we're talking about the Small Stars, I have to say this since we're at the Continental Club. The very first time that we played the Continental Club, Steve was there. I played Vic Oden, of course, as the British manager.
Right.
Everybody still thought, by the way, that I was British. I just found an email to Steve from Vic Oden that we went back and forth about the booking. Anyway, so I'm on stage. We bring out Magic Mike, the magician, and during his act, he does a fire breathing thing. And part of my act is that I come out with a fire extinguisher and douse him with, and Buddy Lamas, who was the sax player, he had, the state has those auctions where you can get like old hospital beds and that. Yep. He bought up a bunch of old fire extinguishers from old hospitals, and we would take them on the road. So that night, our first gig at the Continental Club, here's Magic Mike. He comes up, he does his bit with the bird, he does his bit with the hat, and then he does his bit with the fire. And this is before you guys had done any work at the top, and it was mostly cobwebs up there.
Yes.
And Steve is right here to the side of the stage, and he blows that flame, and all of the cobwebs go. And I come off stage, and Steve's, if you ever, he was so mad. I was like, I had no idea this was going to happen. I'm so sorry. I was scared out of my mind. I'm sure he was too. But that was the last time we had Magic Mike at the Continental Club.
Well, we're really glad you didn't burn it down.
Me too. Me too.
Well, guys, thank you so much for being with me today. This has been so much fun. Thank you, Charlie. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much.
And Nakia, I'm looking forward to your new live streams and
Yes.
whatever else you end up having going on this year, because I know that you'll stay busy.
I'm definitely going to stay busy. Again, I'm not retiring from advocacy. It'll always be, I'll always lead with that, and with everything I do, making sure people are treated fairly and equitably is really important, especially now more than ever. We have a real chance to kind of start over and reset everything and do things a different way. But I definitely need some time, not just for me, but also to spend time with my husband and our dog. Once the the lights come back on again, we like to travel and do some things. So.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Charlie. I miss you guys, and I can't wait to see you again.
Can't wait to see you again. Thanks for having us.
Well, it's my pleasure entirely. And Charlie, when you've got your band up and running and we're open again and you're ready for your first gig, it better be at the Continental Club.
That might be in a long time because I haven't even showed them my guitar yet. So
however long it takes.
But that, Diane, that is why we do what we do, right? So that when people like Charlie, who are just starting out, or my godson, who are just starting to think about playing the drums,
right,
by the time they're ready for a gig, the Continental is there.
Yeah.
And that's why the city needs to step it up and really do their very best to help our music venues and our musicians in town.
And Charlie, just for a little bit of encouragement, our Monday happy hour band is the Peterson Brothers.
Yes.
And they are extraordinarily popular. And when they first started playing at the Continental Club, Alex, the bass player, had just turned 13. So you've got a little while.
Savannah's over in the backside over here going, warning, warning.
But just so that you know, and I think Jake Andrews, when he started playing at the club, was about 15. Charlie Sexton was 13.
13, yeah.
Will was 13 or 14.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah. And Charlie went out with Bowie when he was still barely even an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's amazing. Well, thank you, Diane. Thank you, Continental Club.
Thanks, y'all.
Love you.
Appreciate it. Bye.
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 Bye, Charlie.
All right.